Welcome to the HFY Codex Tale. If you like our videos, keep supporting and subscribe to our channel. Ambassador Cassandra Way stood at the observation deck of Helios 9, watching the dance of starlight across the crystalline beings gathering below. The Meridani delegation had arrived precisely on schedule, their translucent bodies refracting light in ways that made them appear both beautiful and otherworldly. Their crystalline filaments, what humans might call hair, cascaded down their backs in geometric patterns that seemed to hold entire galaxies within. Ambassador Way, a soft voice called from behind her. The preliminary meeting begins in 10 minutes. She turned to face her assistant, Thomas Chen, a young diplomatic officer whose attention to detail had proven invaluable during their 3-month preparation for this first official contact. "Thank you, Thomas. Any last-minute protocol updates?" "None but," he hesitated, adjusting his collar. The cultural briefing was surprisingly sparse. The Meridani are known for being intensely private about their customs. Cassandra nodded, smoothing down her formal diplomatic uniform. After 15 years in the diplomatic corps, she'd learned that what wasn't in the briefings often proved more important than what was. The Meridani had only recently joined the Intergalactic Alliance, and this summit would establish the foundation for Earth's relationship with them. The observation deck's doors whispered open, revealing a Meridani figure. Unlike the others Cassandra had observed, this one's crystalline body held subtle hints of azure, and their filaments moved with an almost nervous energy. The universal translator pinned to Cassandra's collar hummed to life. "I am Nyxis, cultural attaché to the Meridani delegation," the being said, their voice carrying an ethereal quality that the translator couldn't quite capture. "I hope I am not interrupting." "Not at all," Cassandra replied warmly. "I'm Ambassador Way and this is Officer Chen. We were just discussing the upcoming meeting." Nyxis moved closer, their crystalline form catching the light from a passing comet. "This is my first diplomatic assignment. They paused, filaments rippling in what Cassandra interpreted as uncertainty. "I was chosen because I showed aptitude for understanding other species." Something in Nyxis's tone caught Cassandra's attention. There was an eagerness there, but also something else, perhaps anxiety. She'd learned to read subtle cues in alien species, and something about Nyxis's behavior suggested they were breaking from standard protocol just by having this conversation. "Understanding goes both ways," Cassandra offered carefully. "We're here to learn as much as to teach." Nyxis's filaments shifted, creating a complex pattern that Cassandra couldn't interpret. "Yes, but..." They were interrupted by a sharp sound, a crystalline chime that seemed to come from within their own body. "The elders are calling, I must go." As Nyxis turned to leave, Cassandra noticed something extraordinary. A brief flicker of color rippled through their crystalline form, like aurora borealis trapped beneath ice. The sight was so stunning that she spoke without thinking. "The patterns you create, they're breathtaking." Nyxis froze mid-step. The temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees, and their filaments went completely still. When they spoke again, their voice had lost its melodic quality, becoming almost brittle. "You observe our patterns." Before Cassandra could respond, multiple Meridani entered the observation deck. Their imposing forms dominated the space, filaments moving in rigid synchronized patterns. One stepped forward, their body a deep, almost opaque crystal. "Cultural attaché Nyxis," the elder Meridani's voice cut through the air like shards of ice. "You have exceeded your diplomatic parameters." Cassandra watched as Nyxis's form seemed to shrink, their once dancing filaments now hanging limp and dull. The young attaché moved to join their delegation without another word, but not before Cassandra caught another flash of color, this time a deep, pulsing red that spoke of emotion no diplomatic brief had ever mentioned. Thomas leaned close to whisper, "Ambassador, the meeting." "Yes," she replied, her mind racing to process what she'd just witnessed. "But I believe the real diplomacy has already begun." As they walked to the conference room, Cassandra couldn't shake the feeling that she'd stumbled upon something far more complex than a simple cultural taboo. The way the elder Meridani had responded to Nyxis's conversation, the hidden colors she'd glimpsed. There was a story here, buried beneath layers of crystal and protocol. And somewhere in that story lay the key to either a profound understanding between their species or a diplomatic disaster that could shatter more than just protocol. The weight of that knowledge settled on her shoulders as the conference room doors opened, revealing the assembled delegations waiting within. The real challenge wouldn't be in the formal negotiations ahead, but in understanding what lay beneath the crystalline surface of Meridani society, and deciding what to do with that knowledge once she had it. The conference room of Helios 9 hummed with an uncomfortable energy as Commander Benedict Morris reviewed the security footage for the third time. The meeting between the human and Meridani delegations had ended abruptly after a peculiar incident. Several younger Meridani had begun displaying unauthorized color patterns, causing the elders to immediately call for recess. "Play it again," he instructed his security officer. "Focus on the moment just after Ambassador Wei's cultural presentation." The holographic display flickered, showing the exact moment when 3 junior Meridani delegates had started exhibiting swirling patterns of gold and violet within their crystalline forms. The footage clearly captured Elder Shalith's immediate response, a sharp, resonating tone that had made every crystal surface in the room vibrate. "Commander," a voice called from the doorway. Dr. Olivia Reyes, the station's xenoanthropologist, entered with a data pad clutched to her chest. "I've found something in the historical archives about the Meridani that wasn't in our briefing materials." Benedict gestured for her to continue, his attention split between her words and the security feed. As head of station security, he needed to understand if this was merely a cultural faux pas or the beginning of something more volatile. "The Meridani weren't always crystalline," Olivia revealed, pulling up ancient star charts. "According to these records, they underwent a deliberate biological transformation roughly 1,000 years ago. They called it the Great Clarification." "Deliberate evolution?" Benedict's eyebrows rose. "Why?" "Control." The word came from Nyxus, who stood in the doorway, their form dimmer than before. "May I enter? What I have to say, the elders cannot know." Benedict exchanged glances with Olivia before nodding. "Close the door, engage privacy protocols." Nyxus moved to the center of the room, their filaments moving in what Benedict now recognized as agitation. The Great Clarification was not just physical transformation. It was meant to eliminate emotional volatility, to make us pure and logical. The crystal structures channel and control our emotional responses. "The colors we saw," Olivia began, "are meant to be suppressed," Nyxus finished. "Only approved patterns are permitted, but the younger generation, we remember. Our bodies remember what it was to feel freely." Benedict leaned forward, the incident in the conference room. Ambassador Wei's presentation spoke of human art, of expression, of emotional freedom. It resonated with something deep within us, something the elders have tried to crystallize away for generations. Nyxus's form flickered with deep blues and purples before they forcibly dimmed themselves. "Some of us cannot suppress it anymore." "This is far beyond a security issue," Benedict muttered, running a hand through his graying hair. "If what you're saying is true, we're sitting on a cultural powder keg." Olivia moved closer to Nyxus, her scientist's curiosity evident. "The colors we see, they're emotional expressions." "They are truth," Nyxus replied. "The patterns within our filaments, the colors in our crystal forms, they once told our entire history. Now we are required to maintain standard clarity, to show only approved patterns that reflect order and logic." A sharp alarm cut through the room. Benedict quickly checked the security feed. "Elder Shalith is requesting an immediate audience with Ambassador Wei." "They suspect," Nyxus's voice carried an edge of fear. "They've seen how some of us respond to human presence. They will demand limited contact." Benedict straightened his uniform, decision made. "Dr. Reyes, document everything Nyxus has shared. We need to understand the full implications. Nyxus, you should return before you're missed, but we'll need to speak again." As Nyxus moved to leave, they paused. "Commander, what the elders call corruption, we call awakening. More of us remember every day. The human's presence, their open display of emotions and individual expression, it catalyzes something in our crystal matrix." After Nyxus left, Benedict turned to Olivia. "Your professional opinion." She looked up from her furious note-taking. "We're witnessing the beginning of a cultural revolution. The Meridani youth aren't just rebelling against tradition, they're fighting against a physically imposed emotional suppression system. And our presence is accelerating it," Benedict concluded grimly. "I need to brief Ambassador Wei before her meeting with Shalith. The elders will try to restrict contact, but if we do..." We could be condemning an entire generation to continued suppression, Olivia finished. Benedict moved to the door, his military training warring with his human empathy. Update the diplomatic brief. Ambassador Wei needs to understand, every word she speaks to the elders isn't just about human Meridani relations anymore. It's about freedom, Olivia said softly, watching the security feed where young Meridani delegates gathered in small groups, their crystal bodies flickering with forbidden colors when they thought no one was watching. As Benedict strode toward the diplomatic quarters, he realized that maintaining station security had suddenly become infinitely more complex. They weren't just protecting against physical threats anymore, they were guarding the spark of revolution. The question was, would that spark ignite a fire of positive change or shatter the very foundation of Meridani society? Dr. Olivia Reyes had never seen anything like it. The small observation lab she'd converted into a meeting space was filled with shifting colors as 6 young Meridani displayed their true patterns, their crystal bodies pulsing with emotions that had been hidden for generations. At their center stood Thexis, Nyxus's sibling, whose form blazed with fierce amber light. The suppression isn't just cultural, Thexis explained, their filaments creating complex, forbidden patterns. The crystal structure itself was engineered to dampen emotional wavelengths, but the engineering wasn't perfect when we experience strong emotions. The colors break through, Olivia finished, frantically documenting the patterns, like cracks in a dam. We call ourselves the Luminous, another young Meridani, Valen, spoke up. Their form rippled with gentle green hues. We believe the Great Clarification was a mistake, an attempt to solve social problems by literally crystallizing our people into rigid patterns. The door chimed. Commander Morris's voice came through. Dr. Reyes, Elder Shalith is conducting an inspection of this sector. 2 minutes. The young Meridani immediately dimmed their colors, their forms becoming the acceptable translucent crystal. All except Thexis, who struggled visibly with the suppression. You must learn to hide it better, Nyxus urged their sibling. The elders are already suspicious. I'm tired of hiding. Thexis's voice carried harmonics of frustration that made the lab's crystal surfaces resonate. The humans have shown us there's another way. Their emotions don't make them weak. They make them stronger, more adaptable. Quick footsteps in the corridor silenced them. Olivia activated her research screens, making it appear they were conducting standard cultural exchange interviews. The door opened to reveal Elder Shalith, their massive crystalline form dominating the entrance. Dr. Reyes, Shalith's tone held carefully modulated frequencies. I was unaware of scheduled research sessions with our youth. Standard xenoanthropological documentation, Olivia replied smoothly. Ambassador Wei requested comparative cultural data for the next round of negotiations. Shalith's filaments moved in rigid ceremonial patterns. The youth should not be exposed to excessive foreign influence. It disrupts their pattern development. Something in Thexis snapped. Their form suddenly blazed with brilliant colors, reds, golds, and purples swirling in defiance. Pattern development? You mean suppression. You engineered our bodies to trap our souls. Thexis, Nyxus moved to intervene, but it was too late. Shalith's form darkened ominously. This is the corruption we feared. Security protocol demands immediate isolation for pattern correction. No, Thexis backed away. I won't let you force me back into darkness. The humans have shown us what we lost, the beauty of free expression, the strength of emotional truth. Other young Meridani began showing colors in solidarity, their combined light creating a dazzling display. Olivia watched in amazement as their crystal bodies seemed to become more fluid, more alive with each passing moment. Dr. Reyes, Shalith's voice cut through the spectacle. You will end these sessions immediately, and you, they turned to the young Meridani, will report for collective pattern reinforcement. We refuse. Thexis stood taller, their light unwavering. We are not malfunctioning crystals to be reshaped. We are living beings. The humans didn't corrupt us. They reminded us of who we really are. Shalith activated a communication frequency that made every crystalline surface vibrate painfully. Security containment protocol initiated. All young ones will. They were interrupted by Ambassador Wei's voice over the station comm. Elder Shalith, your presence is required in emergency session. The Intergalactic Alliance mediator has arrived ahead of schedule. Shalith's form pulsed with barely contained anger. This is not finished. Dr. Reyes, you have interfered with Meridani cultural sovereignty. There will be consequences. After Shalith left, Olivia turned to the young Meridani. You need to go now. Find Commander Morris. Tell him it's time for contingency protocol echo. What will you do? Nyxus asked as they ushered their fellow youth toward the secondary exit. Document everything. The Alliance needs to understand this isn't just about cultural preservation versus change. It's about freedom from biological imprisonment. She looked at Thexus, whose colors still shone brightly. Your light deserves to be seen. As the young Meridani fled, Olivia quickly transferred her research data to secure storage. The station's warning systems began to pulse, indicating security teams were mobilizing. She knew the next few hours would determine not just the future of human-Meridani relations, but the freedom of an entire generation of crystal-bound youth. She touched her comm unit. Ambassador Wei, you need to see this research immediately. I think I finally understand what the Great Clarification really was and why it needs to end. The light from distant stars played across her screens, creating rainbow refractions through the crystal walls. Somewhere in the station, young Meridani were refusing to dim their colors for the first time in a millennium. The question was, would their light be enough to break through generations of carefully engineered emotional suppression? Olivia began composing her report to the Alliance, knowing that every word needed to illuminate the truth hidden beneath the crystal surface of Meridani society. The revolution wouldn't be fought with weapons, but with something far more powerful, the simple, undeniable beauty of genuine emotion. Mediator Jun Park had seen his share of diplomatic crises in 15 years with the Intergalactic Alliance, but nothing quite like this. The emergency session chamber of Helios 9 was divided into 3 distinct sections. The Meridani elders, their forms rigid and coldly translucent. The human delegation, led by a composed but visibly concerned Ambassador Wei. And between them, a group of young Meridani who refused to dim their colors. This is unprecedented, Ambassador Carthex, the Meridani's chief diplomat, declared. Their crystalline form vibrated with carefully controlled frequencies. These youth have been corrupted by human influence. We demand immediate isolation and pattern correction. Pattern correction is torture, Thexus's voice rang out, their form blazing with swirling colors that made the chamber's crystal walls resonate in sympathy. You use harmonic frequencies to break down our natural emotional responses until we conform to your approved patterns. Jun studied the data displays floating before him. Dr. Reyes' research was comprehensive, documenting the biological and psychological effects of the Great Clarification with disturbing clarity. Commander Morris's security reports showed increasing unrest among younger Meridani throughout the station. The Alliance cannot intervene in internal cultural matters, Jun began carefully, but when those matters involve documented biological suppression of sentient beings. Our methods preserved our civilization, Elder Shalith interrupted. Before the Great Clarification, our emotional volatility nearly destroyed us. We chose this path. Your ancestors chose. Nyxus stepped forward, their usually dim form now showing hints of deep blue courage. They altered our very biology without consent of future generations. We're not asking to return to chaos, we're asking for the right to feel, to express, to live authentically. Ambassador Wei cleared her throat. If I may, the human delegation has a proposal. Jun nodded, noting how the young Meridani's colors shifted hopefully at her words. Dr. Olivia Reyes has discovered something remarkable, Wei continued. The crystal matrix that makes up Meridani bodies isn't just suppressing emotions, it's storing them. Generations of feelings, memories, and expressions are trapped within the very structure of your beings. That's why exposure to human emotional expression is having such a profound effect. It's awakening what was always there. The chamber erupted in harmonic discord as multiple Meridani spoke at once. Jun raised his hand for silence. Is this true? He asked Dr. Reyes, who stood at a research station nearby. Yes, she confirmed, projecting complex molecular diagrams. The crystal structure acts like emotional memory storage. The Great Clarification didn't eliminate feelings, it imprisoned them. Each generation adds their own emotional imprint, building pressure within the matrix. What we're seeing now isn't corruption, it's liberation. Ambassador Carthex's form darkened ominously. If this spreads, if the youth continue to break pattern, the emotional feedback could shatter our entire social structure. It already is spreading, Commander Morris reported from his security station. We're getting reports from Meridani ships in orbit. Young ones are showing colors everywhere. You can't contain this anymore. Jun watched the interplay of light and shadow across the chamber. The young Meridani's colors seemed to grow stronger, more confident, while the elders' forms became increasingly rigid, as if trying to maintain control through sheer will. The Alliance recognizes the right of species to self-determination, Jun stated formally. But we also have a duty to prevent harm. I propose a compromise. All eyes and crystalline sensors turned to him. The Meridani youth will be granted safe haven on Alliance stations and worlds if they choose it. There, they can freely explore their natural emotional expression without fear of forced suppression. Meanwhile, those who wish to maintain traditional crystal clarity may do so. Let each individual choose their path. Impossible, Elder Shalith thundered. The pattern must be maintained. The pattern is already broken, Thexis replied, their voice gentle despite their brilliant colors. Look at us, Elder, really look. We're not shattering, we're becoming more whole. As if to demonstrate, Thexis began emanating a complex pattern of colors and light that spoke of joy, fear, hope, and determination all at once. One by one, other young Meridani joined, their combined radiance filling the chamber with living light. Then something extraordinary happened. An older Meridani in the Elders section began to show color, faint at first, then stronger. Others followed, ancient emotions breaking through centuries of suppression. Ambassador Carthex's form trembled. We remember, before the clarification, the colors, the feelings. Jun watched in amazement as the rigid division in the chamber began to dissolve. Young and old Meridani alike displayed colors, sharing emotional patterns that had been locked away for generations. The proposal stands, he said quietly, but perhaps fewer will choose to leave than we thought. Ambassador Wei moved to stand beside him. Sometimes the hardest part of diplomatic work is simply creating space for truth to emerge. As the chamber filled with living light, Jun made his official notes for the Alliance records. Today, we witnessed not the shattering of a civilization, but its reawakening. The price of truth was not destruction, but transformation. The crisis wasn't over. There would be challenges ahead as the Meridani navigated their new reality. But watching the dance of colors and emotions fill the chamber, Jun knew they had passed a critical point. The light of truth, once released, could never be fully contained again. 3 months after the events on Helios 9, Ambassador Cassandra Wei stood in the newly constructed Crystal Garden on Earth's primary diplomatic campus. The space had been designed specifically to host the transformed Meridani society, with specialized crystal formations that enhanced rather than suppressed emotional resonance. Nyxis, now serving as the lead cultural liaison between Earth and their people, approached with a shimmer of pleasant blue-green hues rippling through their form. The first integration class graduates today, 23 Meridani who chose to fully embrace emotional expression while maintaining crystal form. And the traditionalists? Cassandra asked, watching as various Meridani moved through the garden, some brilliantly colored, others maintaining their traditional clarity. They've established their own community on our homeworld's second continent. Elder Shalith leads them, though. Nyxis's colors shifted to show amusement. Even they display colors now, albeit subtle ones. They call it controlled expression. Dr. Olivia Reyes emerged from her research pavilion, carrying new data crystals. The past months had been the most productive of her career as she documented the Meridani transformation. The latest results are fascinating. The crystal matrix isn't just adapting to emotional expression, it's evolving. Each generation will have greater natural control over their emotional resonance. Natural control, not enforced suppression, Thexis added, approaching with a delegation of young Meridani. Their form blazed with the confident colors that had become their trademark. We're learning to balance clarity and expression. The humans have been excellent teachers. Commander Morris, recently promoted to Security Director of Earth Meridani Relations, joined them with his characteristic direct stride. The last of the pattern correction chambers have been converted to emotional resonance archives. The stored generational memories are being preserved for historical study. Cassandra smiled, remembering how a simple observation about beauty had sparked such profound change. And the cultural exchange program. Flourishing, Nyxis reported, their filaments creating a pattern of pride. Humans are learning to read our emotional patterns, and we're learning the subtle physical cues of human expression. Some of our youth are even experimenting with translating human art into crystal resonance patterns. Which reminds me, Thexis said, their colors shifting to a formal arrangement. We have a presentation prepared, something we've been working on with the Human Meridani Cultural Integration Team. The garden's crystal formations began to pulse with soft light as a group of young Meridani arranged themselves in a circle. Their forms started to glow, colors flowing between them in complex patterns. Then, to everyone's amazement, they began to recreate famous human artworks in living light. Van Gogh's Starry Night swirled through their crystal bodies, followed by the gentle colors of Monet's water lilies. Beautiful, Cassandra breathed, watching the display. Beauty was never the problem, came Elder Shalleth's voice as they entered the garden. Their usually rigid form now showed subtle variations of color, like sunlight through ancient ice. We feared the power of emotions, so we tried to lock them away. We forgot that beauty and feeling are not opposed to wisdom and clarity, they enhance each other. Dr. Reyes nodded enthusiastically. The latest research supports that. Meridani who embrace both their crystal nature and their emotional expression show enhanced problem-solving abilities and deeper empathic connections. Two paths, one people, Thexis said, their colors merging with the artwork display. Those who choose more expression, those who choose more reserve, but no one forced into suppression. Commander Morris checked his data pad. The first joint human Meridani space station begins construction next month. The design incorporates both traditional clarity chambers and emotional resonance spaces. And the Intergalactic Alliance? Cassandra asked. Mediator Park's report has sparked discussion about emotional rights across member species, Nyxis replied. Our experience is helping other cultures examine their own traditions of emotional suppression. The art display reached its finale, with the young Meridani creating an original piece, a swirling fusion of crystal patterns and human artistic expression that filled the garden with living light. Humans and Meridani alike stood in appreciative silence, each experiencing the moment in their own way. You know, Cassandra said quietly to Nyxis, when I first noticed your people's beauty, I never imagined where it would lead. Nyxis's form shimmered with gentle humor. Sometimes the most profound changes begin with the simplest truths. We needed someone to see past our crystal surface to the light within. As the sun set over the crystal garden, its rays caught the assembled Meridani, creating countless rainbows. Some forms remained mostly clear, embracing tradition while accepting hints of color. Others blazed with bold emotional displays. But all of them were free to choose their own path, their own pattern, their own truth. Dr. Reyes made one final note in her research log. The great clarification has given way to the great expression. The Meridani have proven that evolution doesn't always mean leaving the past behind. Sometimes it means finding a new way to carry it forward, transformed by understanding and illuminated by truth. And in the growing dusk, the crystal beings continued their dance of light and shadow, writing a new chapter in the story of two worlds learning to see beauty in their differences.